Okay, we're recording now. So good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us. Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. Thank you for joining us. Today's is going to be a short meeting, and we just wanted to go over a bunch of updates, things that have been happening, and hopefully we'll let you go in about 30 minutes. We will start. So I shared a link to the agenda and the code of conduct. So we won't go over it, but if you want, if you're curious, you can take a look at the code of conduct. The first item on the agenda is Andrew Kuhn updating us on the EC policy that we discussed in the meeting last month around alcohol spending. So Andrew, do you want to take over from here?
Sure, thank you. I wanted to let everybody know that the executive committee voted in favor of implementing our proposed alcohol policy. And just to remind everybody what this means, this policy would restrict spending, direct spending by the executive committee on alcohol. So who it doesn't, who it does not apply to is, for example, conferences that spend on alcohol for example, a dinner or a reception. If people are receiving travel grants and do not need to be reimbursed with receipts, that does not apply then. Also, what it does apply to, though, is what I wanted to say is direct spending by the executive committee. So, for example, travel by executive committee members or events that basically get funding from the executive committee directly for an event. So starting with July 1st, with the new fiscal year, this policy will apply, and that's the update. Happy to answer any questions if they come up. You can put them in the chat, or at the end we'll have some time as well. Thanks.
Thank you, Andrew. That was quick. If you have any questions, feel free to raise your hand or put your question in the chat. And we'll go on to the next item, which is Naomi and Matt. If you can give quick overviews of the committees that you formed. So Naomi, do you want to go first?
Yes. So after the closing of ADC last year, we have finally formed a new steering committee for Asia, which is called ASC. This stands for Asia SIGCHI Committee. And the 6 members are Shi Wei and Stanley from East Asia, Pushpendra and Suleiman from South Asia, and Brian and Chat from Southeast Asia. Now, the committee was formed through an open call and several meetings with the former ADC members and chapter chairs in the region, and some of us from the EC members. So the ASC will be working on 3 projects. The first one is about developing resources on HCI education in Asia, which will be led by Stanley. And the second one will be about understanding barriers, gaps, and needs in Asia, which will be led by Chat. And the last one is about enhancing HCI awareness in Asia. And this one will be led by Pushpendra. That's all from me. Thank you.
And there are some members here, I see. So
yes.
Do you want to just say hi quickly? So Chat, I see you.
Hello, everyone. If you are from Asia, I would like to talk to you because we want to understand the barriers. Reach me out in the SIGCHI chapter Slack.
Thank you. I also saw Brian. Brian, are you? I think I saw him.
I do see Brian, but
hi everyone. So yeah, thank you for accepting me to be part of the ADC, and really looking forward to helping the rest of the region like get our research out there and yeah, develop our own HCI projects. Thank you.
And Pushpendra is here as well. Pushpendra, we're just saying hi. I saw that you just called in.
Oh, hi. Hi, everyone. Hi, Neha.
Okay. Thank you, Naomi. And Matt, do you want to go next?
Yes, sure. In the same way as Naomi just described, we had an open call and then some conversations, and I'm delighted that we were able to have 7 colleagues from across the world join us. I'll put the, I was going to put them in the chat, but I'll read them out. Jenny is here, yeah, Jenny from Australia. And we've got Mark Kramer from Austria, Danny Raju based in Mumbai, India, Masita Ghazali in Malaysia, Pranjal Jain, who's in UK at the moment, and Manjiri Joshi in India, and Bill Wozniak from Sweden. We had our first meeting, I think, just before the Easter break. Really excited to work with these costs. We've got lots of ideas, but we want to start with listening and learning. And we have 2 sessions. One at the, I'll have to ask Cliff what the right term is, at the embodied physical Kai, at a breast. And if you haven't seen the invitation to join that, it's on the SIGCHI Chapters Slack. And then following that, I have another disembodied, is that right, Cliff? Disembodied virtual meeting to follow on and build ideas that cover that meeting in New Orleans. There's a lot to do. What we're all focused on is projecting and making more visible the amazing work that's going on across the world in the chapters, helping other areas that don't have the vibrance in their chapters to be energized and encouraged, and to work together to feel that we are one very large, important route for change and good across the academic and professional community. Is here. I'm trying to work out what to you, Jenny, so you might be completely asleep, but if you only want to say hello, now's the moment.
I can say hello, but I'm actually in bed listening, so I won't turn my video on.
Well, thank you so much for joining us at this late hour, and it's going to be great to work with you.
Well, thank you. And this is not quite as bad as the meeting you held at 1 a.m. my time, but you know, I am in bed.
I'll try better next, Jenny. But I will. That's it from us, I think. I don't need any of the others. I've got one of my screens open. If anyone else can see any of the others, or if you can hear me, then please jump in and say hello.
Thank you, Matt. And thanks everyone for joining, and Jenny for joining so late. Luigi, do you want to pull up your slides and talk about the Development Fund and the Futuring SIGCHI Committee?
Yes.
Are you a co-host? Can you share your slides? Okay, great.
Yes. Okay. So yeah, just 3 quick updates on the community support programs that we have. So the first update is about the Gary Marsden Travel Award. As you maybe know, in February, we started again to support physical travel to SIGCHI conferences, not only virtual participation. And as a result, we extended slightly the deadline that we have the 9th of March up to the 15th of March. And also, as coming from requests from the community, from some students especially, we also opened the last minute cycle just for CHI 2022 that were closed 10 days ago. As a result of all of these, we awarded 85 people, mostly students and early career professional, and 82 of them just for attending CHI, either in person or virtually. And they come from 22 different countries all over the world, as you can see in the slides: Australia, Denmark, South Korea, United States, United Kingdom, Iran, India, etc. So this was a huge work, and I would like to thank you, the Gary Marsden Committee, for the work that they did in the last month. And that was the first update. The second update is about the development fund. So the development fund recently restarted to support in-person activities, not only virtual activities like the fund did last year. So right now we support two kinds of activities, either hybrid activities, so both in-person and virtual activities, where virtual activities are capped up to $5,000, while in-person events can request up to $10,000. And this is the first kind of activities that we are supporting with the development fund. And the second one are sustainability initiatives, so specific action for supporting sustainability up to $5,000. You can find more information on our website that is reported here. And finally, the last update is the start of a new committee that we are starting right now. So you can apply and read more in our Medium blog post. And that is the Futuring SIGCHI Committee. That is a committee prioritizing students and early career professionals and wants to be a sandbox for creative and public-facing pilot project for addressing in a new way, we can say, community challenge and hoping to improve our field and set up us better and the HSI field in general for the future. So these are my 3 quick updates on this topic.
Thank you so much, Luigi. And I've dropped a link to the blog post so you can take a look. Can we stop sharing? Okay, great. Next up, we have Susan.
Hello, I'm Susan Dre, and I am here to share some information about what all is going to be happening with the SIGCHI Turns 40 celebrations that are happening this year. First of all, we have a special issue of Interactions magazine, which is going to be coming out the last issue of the year. Now, I mention this first because I want you to be thinking about it and seeing if there's some things that you might want to include in this. I'm putting the link to the information in the chat. Oops, did I just put the wrong one in? Oh no, there it is. Okay. This is going to include contributions in languages other than English. And there's been quite an excited buzz about this in the community. And the calls have already been translated into a number of languages, including double bite languages. Thank you so much, Naomi, and Italian and Portuguese and Bangla, etc. So we encourage people to consider submitting in languages other than English. There is a deadline for that, for you to let us know about that in May, right shortly after Pi. And then the main deadline is in June, and all the information is in that link that I shared with you. So that is one thing. However, the things that are coming up at Chi are going to be really fun for in-person and hopefully virtual as well. First up, there's a plenary panel where we have a number of very interesting people who are going to talk about the future of the future and the past and the present, so we can talk about celebrating all of that and all of our history, and both past history and future history. We also are going to be talking about the future of practice in HCI with Stephen Pemberton, who was the Lifetime Practice Award awardee, and also talking about the future of service with Geraldine Fitzpatrick, and celebrating the awardees of later in the year. We will, we are also going to be celebrating all of the awardees later in the year in a variety of different methods. One of the things that I'd like to invite you all to come to the EC booth exchange and talk with us about how you see the future and the past, but especially the future going, as well as applying to join the Futuring Committee, which is going to be great. One of the things we're considering, we had a request from Aaron Marcus to help him to send his archives to the Charles Babbage Institute in Minnesota, which is an archivist, an archive of HCI of materials. And this got us thinking about whether people have things which they feel are very important in documenting the history of SIGCHI, and considering having people actually donate those archives to the EC, so that we can send selected bits to Charles Babbage to also be archived. So I'm wondering if there are any questions. And since they're not, back to you, Neha.
Thanks, Susan. If someone could grab a link to the list of award winners, we can also share that now. And we can move on. We'll talk a little bit also about other activities that we have coming up at CHI. That was towards the end of the call. But for now, let's move on to you, Stacy.
All right, good morning, everybody. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Wonderful. So I'm going to go ahead and paste a link to the proposed bylaws updates that I'd like to introduce to you. We're proposing that Eleanor has lots to say too this morning. We're proposing that the adjunct chair for accessibility position be added to the bylaws as a VP appointed vice presidential position. So as many of you know, people with disabilities are the largest minority group in the world, and yet they still face substantial access barriers to specifically science and technology fields. So I actually have a call with one of our community members later today to talk about how the PDFs that we produce are essentially completely inaccessible. And there's even problems with the HTML we produce for people who are blind. You know, there have been many dedicated volunteers and activists in our community to try to address some of these challenges. And one of the things that's recently been done is just the creation of this position that I'm currently in, the adjunct chair for accessibility. And as you can see from the dark circles under my eyes, there's much work to be done. And it's longitudinal work, because oftentimes accessibility innovations end up being retroverted inadvertently. So one of the problems with the current adjunct chair position is that it's not baked into our bylaws, and that means that when new executive committees come into their positions, they may inadvertently say, well, why is accessibility important? And the position may disappear and go by the wayside. So we are suggesting that we add it to the bylaws and make it a vice presidential position that is appointed, not elected. So when you do elections, every executive committee term, you select a few vice presidents who then go on to appoint their preferred vice presidents that are listed in the bylaws. And so this would be one of those appointed positions. It's not often that you get to give yourself a promotion. And this is not one of those cases, I promise you. So I have already let Neha know that if this position becomes ratified in the bylaws, that I will step down, and that will go ahead and do another open call for someone to fill this position. Okay, Eleanor doesn't really want me to talk anymore, but really briefly, the next steps would be for, I think, the executive committee to vote, and then we would send it up to the ACM, who has some process for overseeing the rules before we put it out to a vote for the entire community. And I will stop there and just give her the limelight for a second since she really wants it. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, Stacy, and thank you, Eleanor. And Eleanor is the youngest member of the SIGCHI EC, so we welcome her input. We also welcome your input. So if you have any questions, any comments at all about why we're including this new role and the specifics around it, we're happy to discuss that. So this is a long drawn out process. We will need to first discuss it, get community input, discuss it at the EC level, then share it with the ACM, and get feedback from them, then decide to put it out to get a vote from the community. So it is a long process, but we're committed to doing this for all the reasons that Stacey mentioned. And yeah, feel free to, as usual, just drop questions or comments about this. So next up we have Kale. Kale, do you want to introduce your plan, your committee plans?
Yeah.
Thank you.
So I'm Kale, your AC equity, pronouns they, them, or he, him. We're rather excited to, announce the proposed formation of an equity committee to help distribute some of the labor involved with this role, as well as increase the diversity of perspectives. So responsibilities likely will include taking initiative on a series of major projects that I'll be proposing shortly after CHI. You'll be coordinating efforts with other SIGCHI EC committees, ACM, general chairs, equity chairs across conferences, and coordinating and communicating with the EC itself. There'll be two sort of major chunks or sections of the work that we do. Part of that looks at sort of looking back and taking stock of past equity initiatives, offerings, and shortcomings. And the other half will be looking sort of forward with how we can set certain things into policy, create certain equity standards. But there'll be much more on that coming up soon. So get in touch with me if you're interested. In any way that you can. And I think I can turn it over to Pejman.
Hi, everyone. Can you all hear me okay? Okay, cool. Hi, my name is Pejman Mirzababai. I am the Vice President for publications, and my role basically oversees our publication-related matters for SIGCHI and our family of conferences. So that basically means working with our conference leaders, that's basically program chairs, paper chairs, to support them through their publication pipeline. So from their call for paper to having the papers on the ACM digital library. That also means supporting our community of members in terms of helping them with their publication process, which we have some initiatives through mentorship and courses. It also means working with ACM and EC members to address publication-related matters, things such as appeals or implementation of ACM policies and processes. So in order to do all these, we are currently forming a SIGCHI publication committee, which would be a group of around between 7 to 10 volunteers who are gonna be focusing on these tasks that we discussed. At the moment, our proposal for the publication committee is with the EC's review and approval. once it's approved, we're gonna follow the open call process to recruit members. And yeah, so that's the information I have at the moment. If you have any questions, I'm more than happy to answer. As well as if you are interested in publication related matter, please consider joining this committee. I will be at CHI in person, and I'm looking forward to talking to everyone who is there and answer any questions you may have regarding this committee. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Hijman. Thank you, Kale. So some committees have been formed, some committees are in the process. At CHI, we're hoping to connect with as many people as possible. So that brings us to the last item for the day. So as you know, SIGCHI, the EC is organizing a bunch of events at CHI, and Susan mentioned some of those. I want Christy maybe to go over these quickly, and I also want to direct you to our webpage. So there's a section of the webpage that says SIGCHI at CHI 2022. This is on sigchi.org. And you can see what events there are. And also, as multiple people have mentioned, you can come talk to us at the EC booth, message us anyhow, all of that. So Christy, over to you now.
Yes.
And I also actually, sorry, quickly, sorry to interrupt, but I also just want to say that I saw Cliff is here. So thank you, Cliff, for joining. And if any of you have any questions for him as general chair, please feel free to drop them in the chat as well. Okay, so Christy, please go ahead.
Okay, yeah, so the SIGCHI EC has been working in conjunction with the general chairs of CHI. We've got several great events going on during the week of CHI, starting with Sunday evening, which is May 1st. There's going to be a volunteer appreciation reception that will honor some of, well, all of the volunteers that make up the SIGCHI community, but we're going to focus on the 2020, 2021, and 2022 committees that organize the different conferences, given that this is the first time we've been together in quite some time. We'll also have some fun trivia and some activities, and SIGCHI will be there to help start kicking off celebrating the 40th anniversary. We have awards talks spread over Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday for all of our amazing awardees. And I know that that link was shared earlier, so please be sure to attend those talks. We're focusing heavily on each of our awardees and lifetime of research, lifetime of practice, lifetime of service, and then we have some neat fireside chats that are also taking place as part of that those awards talks. We have town halls. We have 2 of those on Tuesday. One is going to be held fully virtually early in the morning Central Time to help include people from different time zones. And then we have the in-person version, which will also be hybrid and available to people who are virtual. That's happening midday on Tuesday. That will include some lunch. As everybody's mentioned, we have an exchange booth in the exhibit hall during CHI, and we invite people to stop in. We also have a rest and recharge lounge, which will be a fun place for people to come and meet the EC, but also just to recharge both your body and your devices during that time. And then we have the plenary panel that I think was mentioned earlier. That's a SIGCHI turns 40, but also focuses on the future very heavily and where SIGCHI is headed, and looks for your input on that. We have SIGs. We have a SIG on equity, and we also have a SIG on hybrid conferences and how what the future of hybridity looks like for conferences. And then we also have a chapters breakfast on Thursday morning that we hope that anyone who is interested in being part of a chapter or is part of a chapter will attend. And that kind of wraps up the actual SIGCHI EC functions at CHI.
One other SIG that not these members, but the Research Ethics Committee is organizing, that's Wednesday morning. I think that's the only other thing that came to mind. Okay, so that brings us to the end of our updates. Any other things that are on your mind that you want to bring up here before we close the meeting? We can just wait in silence for a minute. Adriana says there's a SIG organized by the Latin America Committee on Tuesday afternoon. Thank you, Adriana.
May I also say a quick thing? So
Yeah, go ahead.
yeah, hi again. So we have for those who are members of our conference leaders, we have a session with ACM tomorrow for discussion around tabs and accessibility. I just wanted to mention that quickly. If you're leading one of our conferences or on a steering committee, please consider attending where we discuss that process with ACM.
And this is part of a series of meetings that are going to be taking place, right? This is the Council of Steering Committee Chairs.
Yeah.
But if you have a significant role in a conference where you care about these things, then you're welcome to join. Okay, I think that's it. Cliff, is there anything you wanted to add on your end? Or
Nope.
Welcome people to Kai. Okay, all right. So thank you, everybody. We'll see you in 2 weeks, hopefully, or a week and a half. Take care, stay well.